Our first students, first members, Gary and Shelly, please come on up. We'll do a little introduction here. So Gary and Shelly, just give us a little background on yourself. Did you have prior real estate experience or just?
Yeah, no, we had no real estate experience except for when we met. She had a house that we actually did have rented. If you can hear me, she had a house that we had rented, but when we came here, it had been rented for maybe a year and a half, and but we didn't know what we were doing. And
Right.
I heard about. I was listening to the radio and heard Dale speaking on the radio, and thought we'd come hear what he had to say to the. Well, we came here to one of these first.
Did you think it was a swingers club? Like what?
I did. Yeah. I did. That's how I talked her into it. I'm just kidding.
TMI. Yeah.
But we came to a case study first, and then we said it's not a swingers club. So then we decided to come to the 2-day after that.
Okay, cool. And so why lifestyle? So there's lots of other options out there. There's Bitcoin. There's stocks. Why lifestyles?
Well, I've heard similar real estate pitches over the years, and have been interested. They always want you to buy a book and put money in. But when I came to the 2-day, I don't know exactly at what point. Somewhere toward the end of the first day and into the second day, the light bulb came on, and when we learned that all of the tax savings and how all the income was. Tax-free.
Right.
That's when the light bulb really went on, and we were able to make the decision that day to sign up for a single family at that time. We probably would have signed up for multifamily, but it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was just too much. I was too scared, and
Right.
she would have.
Dave talks too
killed me.
fast, right? So.
Yeah. Well, that was before him. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So cool. So do you have anything to add, Shelly, at all? Okay. So let's talk about the property. How'd you find it? And, did it scare the pants out of you? This wasn't your first property, right?
Correct. It was our second, and actually, the first one scared us. As a matter of fact, we joined in early 2019, and didn't find the first house till toward the end of 2019. And once we went through that one, I felt, although we were still pretty green, I felt like we learned so much from that first transaction. And man, we were ready to jump in at that point. Our problem was we just didn't have a lot of money,
Let me interject here real quick. So when I heard about the story, I was like, we definitely have to present this, because he bought it like a couple months after the lockdown. So lockdown March 2020, he bought it May 2020. April. And then he sold it May of this year. So when's a good time to buy real estate? It just hear the story. It's kind of funny. So anyway, you found this property, and it was through one of the email blasts that came out.
No, actually, it was through networking through the realtor, Joe Wimberly.
Okay.
And this was a Harvey home. And so it's kind of an interesting story. There's a old guy that owned it, and he was living, and he had a motorhome parked in his driveway. And since Harvey, he'd had it stripped out, so it was down to the studs. And you may see pictures in here of that. And the only thing he'd done in the house was he had repiped it with PEX piping, but the only thing left in there that was original was the ceiling.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we didn't have to do all the demo, but it was a big rehab.
Right. Exactly. And so that is a big rehab for your second property. So, but I just wanted to show you had some great before and after pictures. So I really wanted to show some of this work here. So this was the kitchen before and after. Mm-hmm. And this is a real typical type of rehab that we do with white cabinets, stainless steel appliances, granite. If the submarket warrants it, you don't want to over rehab. And your bathrooms. Anything you want to say about the rehab?
So the rehab went well. We had one little hiccup in the middle of it. It was about 7 to 8 weeks for the rehab, and our project manager quit in the middle of the rehab. Mm-hmm. And as it turned out, it wasn't a big deal. I was with All-Star Contractors on this one, and the owner of the company kind of took over, and we finished on time. Didn't have any major hiccups with it.
And And so, you got to remember, you've got mentorship to lean on. So when hiccups do happen, give us a call, and we'll work the problem with you. So we'll just work the problem. So here are the numbers. So April 2020, it appraised for $230,000. You purchased it for $130,000. The rehab was $59,000. Your cash out of pocket was $32,500. And so you rented it out for $1,800. Cash on cash. So you had a cash on cash return of 20% and an equity capture of 25%. Is that about right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah. So just like David was saying, where else are you going to get 20% cash on cash, tax free, and add $25,000 to your net worth in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks? Right. So give them a hand. That's a great job.
You hear how excited they are for 20% return? How many of you with your stupid 401ks and IRAs would be happy 20% a year tax-free? Yeah, see, they're more excited than you. Should be more excited, should be jumping up a little bit.
It's like pushing a rope, right?
A little nervous up here.
So this was 2 years ago. But wait, there's more, right? So 25 months later, May of 2022, home prices took off, right? Summer of 2020, they went up, 20% the first year, and another 15, 20%. So then you got it appraised, and you were keeping track of this. And so walk us through your thought process.
Well, somewhere along the line, we had bought a third one, and for a lot of reasons, we decided that we wanted to get into multifamily, and I knew our lease on this one and the one we just sold. We'd already sold our first one. I knew the lease. By the way, on the first one, if you don't mind me doing a tangent, this is interesting. On our first house, the freeze of 2021 hit our house and had pipe bursts and things, and had a lot of damage. And the lease ended like 2 days after the damage, but the folks had moved out 1 week before, so the house was empty and had all this damage. It wasn't necessarily their fault, but so I was all worried. We were ready to sell the house, and the insurance adjuster came out, and it was a young lady about 25 years old, and I thought, oh boy, she was going through the house with a clipboard, and I was following her around, saying, hey, I'm going to pull this molding off because the sheetrock's behind the molding and all this. And long story short, I had a quote to repair the house for, I think it was $21,000. So it's quite a bit of damage. Mm-hmm. The insurance company wrote me a check for $55,000
Wow.
to fix the damage. And so I was going to fix it and sell it. And my realtor, Jennifer McCormick, was my realtor. We put our heads together.
Lifestyle realtor, yeah.
Yeah, and said, we just sell it as is. And we sold it as is and made another nice $20,000+ on top of that. And that $55,000 was proceeds from an insurance check, so it's not taxable. So we did real well on that.
You sound more excited on that one.
Yes, yes. I'm still pretty excited about that one.
So what I like about this story, he had 2 worst case scenarios in a row, and real estate's forgiving. Who likes that? You understand?
But wait, there's more.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, so your first tenant didn't work out so great, right?
At this house, and I'm not going to go into too deep on that because
Right.
it's kind of embarrassing, but we didn't follow the rules and some of the things that we were taught. And we took a chance, a risk, because he turned out to be, he was deep purple Martian, but
Learn that this weekend.
Right.
yeah, but anyway, we didn't follow the rules because there was a carrot dangling out there, and sometimes you even though your parents tell you don't touch the hot stove, you don't learn until you touch it yourself, and that's what happened to us.
I will not do what Del said.
Yeah, I would say learn from other people's mistakes, but we came out of it fairly unscathed, and then we had the best renter anyone could ever expect. As a matter of fact, when we sold the house, $500 to
$581 it took to
get
make
it going, and 300 and something of that was to do a patch on the roof. So there was literally nothing that we had to do to this house to sell it.
So let's look at the numbers for that. So your total out of pocket, including the bad renter and all that, was $38,000 about, and you sold it. It appraised for $295. This is just 2 years later, right? It appraised for $295. The proceeds from the sale were $105. Total cash flow over that time period was $9,900. Total income gains, the proceeds and the income was $115. So if you take the difference between out of pocket and the total income, you have $77,000. That's a total return of over 200% over 2 years. Annualized, that's 98%.
Okay, that's better than the 8% I told them.
That's a tripling of money. That's taking that 38,000 that was in the bank account and turning it into 115,000 2 years later. So well done. Thank you. Well done. So how has your life changed since you started?
Well, so like you said, I think it was Dave said that everybody here has varying amounts of money, and we're kind of on the lower end of that. And so we had enough money to get in, and this has allowed us. I actually took a step forward and took our money out of our 401k. And so that combined with the monies we made off these first couple of houses, we're able to jump into the multifamily side. So we're actually in six multifamily deals since then.
Right. Yeah, and that's the natural evolution of the real estate investor within lifestyles. So what's next?
So right now we're out of money, so we got it all invested. We got enough, we have a nest egg, and we're in good shape. But we're waiting for that money to turn, and that's the goal, I guess, from this point on, is to keep turning that money.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. As a real estate investor, once you get that mindset, when you get a bunch of cash in your bank account, it's like, I got to get rid of this quick, and that's the appropriate thing.
Once you double one time, you get greedy, and you keep double again.
Right. Yeah, it gets real uncomfortable. If it sits there too long, it gets uncomfortable. So long term, you're gonna get more and more multifamily. Awesome. So who would you like to give a shout out to?
Well, so my mentor during these was Sorrel, and to be honest with you, we didn't use our mentors enough. I leaned more on our real estate agents. Jennifer McCormick was one for one house, Joe Wimberly for another two, and then Jennifer has helped me sell all three of our houses. You can see the vendors.
While we're on the topic, Jennifer, can we get you to stand up and
Jennifer's here.
Take a bow.
Hey, Jennifer.
Jennifer's one of our rock star performers.
I didn't know you were here.
You ranked what, 9th last year in all of 45,000 realtors or so?
No, last year at 17.
Oh, you slacking.
17 out of 45,000. Be impressive.
So.
Yeah, and as far as the vendors go on this house, we used All-Star Contracting, Bridgestar. They did a foundation repair for us that came in and swooped in and kind of got us out of a bind because we had to do it on the 11th hour. 212 Loans was our hard money lender, but nothing bad about them. Everything went fine, but we didn't select them. We were told we had to use them because of the equity firm we bought from. And Security National Mortgage, I'll throw them a bone. David Lipnicki, he was here earlier with Catalyst Funding. They also have a conventional loan, which is Security National. So David helped me on all three of our houses.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so that's one of the things that we teach, and we teach you how to do is how to build your team, whether you're out of town or in town. We'll help you build your team around your property or properties. So that's the end of this.
Really quick though, because there's new people looking this, and they've seen all that work on these properties. So if they're brand new and they've never done this before, they're like, I don't want to go out there and fix a kitchen and put in drywall work. How much of that work did you guys do yourselves?
Well, I know we're told not to do any, but
Oh boy.
But we did a little bit. I enjoy it though.
Do what Dale tells me.
We enjoyed it.
Okay.
But not a lot. I mean, like we didn't put cabinets or anything like that. We tore down a big thing in the backyard that after I was done, I wish I hadn't done. But
Here's something I want you
little.
all to learn. Every time you lift a hammer, you lose money. Everybody understand that? You're good at whatever you do during the day. Anybody in this room can paint a house. It'll look like crap, but you can paint a house. We pay other people to do work for us. Who likes that? Because we're buying back our what? Time. I just want to make sure you know that.
Sorry.
It's okay.
We did a little.
I'll give you a hug if you need it.
Coming from someone that lifts a hammer quite a lot. We'll keep it on. So we've got time for a couple questions. Are there any questions in the audience or online?
Yes, sir.
So I realize that you use vendors to do the remodel, but what is your knowledge base on that? I did a remodel once, and it was terrible. It took me 3 trips to Home Depot to change a toilet paper. I'm not good at that.
Can you repeat that from Doug?
Yeah, so the question is, what's your extent of how to do a remodel? You're relying on your GC. How do you make sure things are being done correctly?
So my personal, I'm kind of in the middle. You don't want me doing any plumbing work, but some of the other stuff I can do. You kind of just trust these guys, right? And that's a lot of this comes down to trust, especially on your first one. I joined we joined in early, like spring, and we didn't jump into our first deal until that fall, and I regretted it because it's the opportunity cost is sitting there, and don't let things like that scare you off. These guys have been doing it forever. And also on your first house, you want to nitpick and try to pick the colors and all that. I'm telling you, just go with whatever scheme they've got. They've got color schemes. Pick one and let them pick
Okay,
the colors
Doug.
for you and go.
Explain what a mentor would have told him to do now.
Yeah, so keep your mentor in the loop, right? But before you write that final check, have your home inspector come out and take a look at what's going on. Or hire somebody along the way to check progress if you really feel that concerned about it. But
I'll say also, if you have a hard money lender, they're going to do that. They're going to come out.
You're
and
going
do
to have
the
a scope of
inspections.
work, and you're going to have a timeline exactly what should be done each week, and hold them accountable. I'll cover that in the seminar.
right, and some of the lenders, the hard money lenders, they actually their draw inspector that comes out is a licensed home inspector. So that's a great question to ask. Is your draw inspector a licensed home inspector as well, as opposed to somebody that doesn't know what an outlet looks like versus a ceiling fan? So, awesome. Quick question online.
Hey, so I actually had someone ask, and you just mentioned it again. You joined in like the spring, but you didn't get anything till the fall. Why was that?
Well, we were
They were wondering if it takes that long to find a house. is what they asked.
No, you can jump right in. But we were just a little nervous. And I would say the best way to do it is get in touch with these realtors. That's the best way to quickly get into some of these deals. Have them be looking for you. Tell them what you're looking for.
And real quick, just so folks online understand this, members when they come in, they join our Challenge Preferred program. I'll talk about that this weekend. We track in San Antonio and Dallas, for example. Our goal is to get them in their first property within 90 days. Who agrees that's a pretty good goal? The average right now in San Antonio is 27 days. So if you want a property and you're working with the realtors and you're listening to what your mentor teaches you and you do all the steps, you will get a property very quickly. But you have to be the one who steps up. And there's nothing wrong with it. They took a little bit of time. They were a little bit nervous. Nobody's going to push you into this. You have to want to do it. Does it make sense? But notice once they did it, they're like, wow, I won afterwards. But it's getting that first fear. That's the hardest thing you got to overcome. And they overcome it. So it doesn't matter if it's 6 months later or in the first week. It's the fact that they actually did it. And they totally changed their lives forever by doing that. So give them a hand for doing that, because they still stepped up.
And I would say to the new members and all that, if you find yourself struggling to do that first deal, to really take that leap, call your mentor, call any of the mentors, and talk through it, and we'll help you get through that, because it's a real thing, right? It took me 9 months when I joined, so.
That's because he's a NASA guy, and they take 14 years to make a toilet.
Analysis paralysis.
So just to clarify, because I had a couple questions on this. One person said, so net income is $77,000 from the investment, and an insurance check after the freeze was $50,000. So really, we're talking $17,000 over 2 years.
No, that insurance check was the first house. I took a little tangent there.
Okay.
That check had nothing to do with that deal. That was a different deal he was talking about.
Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse anyone there.
So what was the return on that one then?
Which one, David?
I'm not really sure.
Okay, so let me answer the
I'm
first
quoting
question.
the confusion here on the
They
question.
made $122,000 off, or $115,000.
115.
Off of 30-some thousand. That's the number they need to know.
Okay.
It's still pretty good, right?
It's okay.
I'm just making sure.
It's decent.
55,000 had nothing to do with that. It was a totally different deal. We didn't show that deal.
Okay.
Any other one more question?
Congratulations, you guys have obviously been very successful with your single family and now jumped into six multifamily deals. This might be a bit personal, but how long before you would feel comfortable not working for someone else? The real goal,
Yeah.
the real dream, like how far down the road, have you planned that far down the road? Do you have any idea?
I'm not sure, to be honest, but it's probably for us is going to be another several years, maybe 6 or 7 years. It depends on how quick these real estate deals flip. Yeah, and the truth is, I don't have to replace mine and her full income, right? Because it's going to be tax free, and hey, we don't have to have that much, right? We may transition to part time before we get to that point.
And that answer is different for everybody in this room. Some people have to replace 100 grand a year, some people 50 grand a year, some people 30 grand a year. It's, can I do this? So you take the numbers. What are average returns I teach? 8% return. Doubling your money every 2 to 3 years. So how many doubles you have to get till you get to where you're comfortable making enough money? And there's other ways that we can make money as well doing this, but that's a number to be realistic with. If you only have 50 grand, it's going to take you longer. You have $500,000 in much quicker time. So there's no straight answer, and that's why you get with your mentor one-on-one. Here's my goal. Here's my 5-year plan. Let's meet that. Let's be realistic. Great question.
We have one more question, JR.
I just want to make a statement real quick as a home inspector that's done both draw inspections and home inspections. Although I'm a licensed home inspector, if I go to do a draw inspection, I am not checking the quality of work. I'm checking the work that looks like it's been done. So I don't want that.
Let me paraphrase. We have a home inspector in the room. He's one of our vendors, really good guy. He's also a member. He's been to my seminar. Okay? What he's saying, as a draw inspector, when he's coming there, he's not doing a home inspection. He's looking at the scope of work, these line items, and just making sure those line items are doing it correctly. I could phrase it for you better. That's okay. Yes. Okay.
Duly noted. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Give him a hand. That's huge. Good job, guys.